Okay, 2017, August 21st, 2017, I take my last drink. I get sober, and this time it sticks. After years of trying and failing, and years of trying and failing, and trying and failing, and trying and failing. Finally, I got sober and I stayed sober. Hallelujah. I did that with the help of refuge recovery and daily meditation. Buddhism. I was working a job as a line cook at a Japanese restaurant in Fort Worth that we all know and love. And things were going well. However, I was restless, irritable, and discontent, as I usually am. 2018, I'm still working at the restaurant, still doing my meditation. I'm lonely. I start messaging a girl that lives in Oklahoma that I'd met a couple years prior, and we hit it off. We moved from Instagram chat to texting to talking on the phone to her coming down to visit. And then we're dating. I've got a girlfriend now. She lives in Oklahoma. One of us is gonna have to move. She doesn't want to move to Texas. I'm kind of like Oklahoma, maybe. I don't know. It seems all right. Yeah, late 2018. I get a job. I get tired of cooking. I want to go back into management. I'm restless, and I get a job as an assistant manager at a waffle shop with the intention of opening up a store in Oklahoma City. It's a long story how that happened, but it happened, and I was like, this is perfect. I'm gonna have my own store in Oklahoma City. Everything's working out great. I'm gonna move up there to be with my girlfriend, and everything's gonna be fine. 2019, I get an apartment in Oklahoma City in February, but I don't have my store yet. So I'm working in Texas, staying at my mom's 4 nights a week, and then driving to Oklahoma City and staying there for 3 days doing nothing. Back and forth, doing this for 4 months. June 2019, I get the green light. You can stay in Oklahoma. It shouldn't be too long until we open your store. It's time to get some stuff ready to open the store. You got to start hiring people. In between February and June, that's a really difficult time because I want to be in my new home, but I'm still having to work here. But also my new home, I don't know anybody. I know my wife, and I don't know anybody else. I know her. She has a couple friends, and they're pretty chill, But I don't have routines. I don't have a support group. I don't have anything but her and this apartment that I'm in, and my cats, and so I'm trying to find my way in this new city, in this new state, when I'm not even there the whole time, and then I'm there the whole time, full time. I'm no longer having to work in Texas, and it's just tough. It was a tough adjustment. No support system, like I said, no support system, no friends. I don't know what to do with myself. I ended up buying a skateboard because I had this weird midlife crisis where I'm like, I'm gonna take up skating. I think my car alarm's going off. Yeah. So I buy this skateboard. I buy this old school skateboard deck, and I immediately hurt my ankle, and I sell it, and it was just, I was grasping for something, anything. The store opens, and then I immediately become obsessed with work. Let me rewind a little bit. Prior to opening this store, I started visiting a monastery and actually working with a monk one-on-one through some stuff. The store opened, and I quit doing that. It was a great experience, and I think about how I just kind of ghosted on this monk often, and how I'd like to go back, and maybe I will someday. But work started, and that took over everything, which it often does, is I just shift all of my attention into work, and I become unhealthily obsessed with the store and what's going on there when I'm not there. Watching cameras, I can't relax. I can't shut off. I had really shitty work-life balance. Even though I wasn't working a lot, I was just, my brain was always there. 2020 happens, and COVID happened in 2020, and obviously that brought everything to a halt. We had to shut the store down. All the staff got laid off with the intention of hiring them back so we could get unemployment, which I'm truly grateful for, because I was getting $900 a week to chill at home, and I was spending a lot of money on computer gear, music gear. Wanted to start this YouTube channel up about meditation, even though I wasn't practicing regularly. I was trying. In a lot of ways, the quarantine was a great time to kind of refocus and recenter my attention, but I still don't think I was still just really scattered. But I still maintain that was a great transformative time. I started going to therapy shortly after that, I think. I can't remember the timeline, but in 2020 I started doing therapy. Per the recommendation of my wife. I think it was actually kind of a requirement, like, go to therapy, because some stuff was coming up, and I was struggling. That was great. That kind of came to a natural conclusion at that time. I think I worked through some stuff and I felt better, and I didn't really know what else to talk about, so I stopped going to therapy. It wasn't like I quit because it was too hard. It was just kind of like, well, I think we might be done here. I'm not sure. I still think about going back because I don't think I'm fixed. I don't think we're ever fixed. But, so yeah, shutdown happens, and then we start to reopen. That part sucked, because you're just hanging out at this shop, waiting for orders to come in. They were all like Uber Eats, DoorDash, all the delivery apps and pickup, and, we could do curbside and delivery, but it wasn't, we were not making much money, so I'm just hanging out at the shop all day, and I was so miserable. I just wanted to do anything else, and I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I felt like a trapped animal. Rewind real quick. August 2020, we got married, which, that's where we left off, I think. I did the video. We're on honeymoon when I did that last video in Colorado. But our friend who facilitated, married us, is a therapist, and he was working at a mental health facility, and he told me about a position at this facility called Recovery Support Specialist, which I'd never heard of, RSS for short, or PRSS, Peer Recovery Support Specialist, known in some places. It's the same title. Some people call it different things, but essentially what it is somebody that has lived experience dealing with mental health issues or addiction, or both, which, in my case, I'd say I have both, but primarily recovering alcoholic. I will say I think now I'm more a recovering depressed person than a recovering alcoholic, but I digress. An RSS is somebody that has lived experience with recovery from mental health or substance abuse issues, and their role is to share their experience with clients that are also struggling with said issues, and you're acting as a peer, providing peer support. Like, this is how I did it. This is, I can help you, along the way, so to speak. And I'm like, perfect. That's great. Even though I was not active in my own recovery, I'm like, this is great. I did try to go back to a meeting. I got a sponsor, and it was this old timer, and he told me this is a terrible idea because you're getting paid to do the work, and you should not be getting paid to do sponsorship or peer support or whatever. This was his take on it. And I was like, bah! You don't know what you're talking about. He kind of did. In hindsight, he knew what he was talking about. So I got hired on. I quit the job, the waffle shop job, and I started working as the recovery support specialist. I had to go through some training to get certification. I got wellness coach certified, which was kind of BS. Early 2021, here we are now, 2021. I was a certified recovery support specialist at a mental health agency, and there were some really rewarding parts of this job, but I'm going to do a whole other video about recovery support specialists and this role and my experience with that, but I will say that most people that I worked with didn't even realize what I was. They thought I was a case manager or a social worker, which I was not. Or was I? This is I think that an RSS is kind of a stepping stone into case management, but a case manager is somebody who goes to school to be a case manager and has a bachelor's degree. I did not have that. However, I was doing duties that were prescribed for a case manager. Helping people with their disability paperwork, helping people with housing paperwork, helping people find resources, and I think there's a lot of gray area of this is considered that, but I don't know. I think I think it was a little exploitative. But again, a whole nother episode. But anyway, so I got a caseload of folks, and it was tough. It was tough work. We were talking about some majorly traumatized people that were verbally abusive. They'd been run wrong through the system so many times, and they had there was so much turnover in the agency and in the field that they didn't know who their case manager was anymore. I was working with this guy, and now he's gone, and now I have you, and it was tough. It was tough. But I stuck with it. This was the first time I'd ever had an office job where I was in front of a computer having to take clinical notes, sitting in a chair basically all day, and I am not used to doing that. My ADHD makes me want to do things. I gotta go. I gotta do stuff. When I'm faced with the task of sitting in front of a computer taking notes, my brain is like, ugh. I don't wanna. So I get really behind on notes. And there was just a lot. There's a lot. Anywho, ultimately, it wasn't really what I wanted. I thought it was going to be perfect, and it wasn't. Here's the theme again, you have this idea of how things are going to be, and here's the reality, and they don't ever really. Sometimes they meet a little bit, but 2021, Sarah and I are married at this point, and we're talking about getting a place, moving. At first, we weren't going to buy a house, and then we're like, no, let's think about buying a house. I think we can do it. Let's start talking about it. We should do that. So, this is 2021 post COVID, The market is crazy. Interest rates are hella low, so everybody's buying. There's not much inventory. We'd go to a showing. There'd be like 8 people looking at the house and putting in offers, like cash offers, like over asking, and people just snapping up houses as soon as they're on the market. And we're like, what? And then we started looking outside of the metro a little bit, further into the country, and then we found the house that we're in now, and it was a dump. It is a dump, and it was borderline hoarder situation. There were 2 guys living here that were injured, couldn't really take care of the house too well, and it was dirty. It was real dirty, but it was sitting on 3 acres, and I'd always wanted, another dream of mine was to have a farm. And so then we're like, let's do it. Let's be homesteaders. That's what we're going to do. We start watching all these YouTube videos about raising ducks and chickens and maybe sheep or goats, and, doing like sustainable farming practices. And so we're going to do it. And long story short, we got the house for very cheap. Nobody really wanted it. There were a few things wrong with it. It's definitely a fixer-upper. It's 100-year-old house, but we got the land and the house for pretty cheap, and so now we own a house. During this time, I'm thinking I want to get out of the mental health agency, and I see that the post office in a nearby town is hiring. Now, my mother worked as a postal carrier, postal worker, mail carrier, letter carrier, whatever you want to call it, in the 80s. And she always maintained, like, it was a great job, it was great benefits, it was great money. She got bit by a dog, and then, like, other life stuff happened, and she stopped working for the postal service. But she's always like, if you can get in at the post office, it's a great job. And I think that is true on some level, and it is also no longer true on another level. And maybe I'll do a whole video about that. Probably not. But anyway, I was hired on as a city carrier assistant. Now, a carrier assistant is someone that has not made regular carrier. And to put it lightly, you are an indentured servant until you make regular. Now, you got a lot more, autonomy with your schedule and whatnot. You can set more boundaries as a regular, but you cannot as an assistant. You're basically signing up to be like, all right, I need you over here this day. You could be here this day. Like, you don't get a say in things. And I knew this going in, but I was like, maybe it'll be different. Maybe it'll be fine. I knew it's going to be good money. They're going to work you hard, but, I can make regular. And I went through like 3 weeks of training. I did maybe 1 week actually delivering the mail. And my boss was a dick, super micromanagey, and I couldn't. I was like, I don't know, man. And I finally got a day off. I was tired. I was struggling to get this route done at the time that he wanted, and I had a day off. It was a Tuesday, and then Monday I come in, and he's like, I need you to come in tomorrow. The regular guy wants to take off, so I need you to come in at 8 a.m. And I was like, and I had a rough day. Mondays are rough. There's a lot of extra mail. And a lot of the mail now, it's just junk. It's just junk. It's a weird thing because they have to justify their existence still. And, email killed so much of it. And I'm still very positive on the post office, but it's not what I thought it was. And I didn't want to go in. So that morning, Tuesday morning, I woke up and I texted the dude, and I'm like, I can't do this. I said, I just quit. And, he was bugging out. But anyway, I went back to the mental health agency. I got my job back. they restructured some things. I ended up making some more money. Now I'm making $15 an hour, which is not great. I mean, I think that's like the minimum that people should get. But it's still not a livable wage now. But I got hired back on doing that. I was right back into I don't want to do this, and so I'm looking for another job. And now it's 2022. And I got a job as a kitchen manager at a homeless shelter in Norman. It was a day shelter, but it's kind of like a soup kitchen type thing. They served breakfast and lunch. It was also a food pantry. They also served as kind of transitional housing. They had tiny houses. There was a very long wait for that, but there was case management there. They'd help people file for, housing, disability, whatever. They'd help people with resources. A great organization. And I thought, this is great. This is great. Now I can help the unhoused population while I'm, cooking, even though like I'm kind of out on food at this point. But it's this is gonna be it. This is gonna be great. It wasn't. It wasn't it. I did 2 months there. Really not great boundaries. Really micromanaging. Really unsafe. I ended up having to call the cops several times, breaking up fights, and there was one day in particular where it escalated so bad that I was like, I can't, I'm done. I put in my week's notice. I got a job cooking at the local hospital in Norman, and now I'm back cooking. But cooking in a hospital is different. It's easy. It's really easy, except for the personalities, and the management was really bad. Money was not bad. I was making decent money, good benefits. The hours sucked. They were all over the place. But then I got tapped to apply for the purchasing position for the department. I applied for this purchasing job because I was recommended. It was recommended that I do it, and the manager was like, "You're gonna be great at this." So I applied for it, and I got the job, but they didn't have anybody to replace me as a cook. So in their mind, they thought, well, you can do this job, but you can also like kind of do your old job. And I was thrust to this new position with very little training. I mean, I'd ordered before, but I had no support. No support, having to learn the ropes of a brand new position while also trying to work a station or a rotating station. It was terrible. And I kept that up for a couple of months because they couldn't get anybody in the door and trained up enough to stay. And it got to the point where I finally just sent an email to everybody in leadership and was like, I cannot do both. You can put me back as a cook. And the director called me and was like, I don't want to do that. I want you to do this job that you applied for, I want you to do your job. And I was like, well, I cannot do 2 jobs. And she's like, well, we won't have you cook anymore. And I was like, put it in writing. I want to take a moment to talk about something really important that I learned while working in the mental health field. Something that they stressed, a few things that they stressed, and 3 things. I'm going to talk about 3 things. Self-care, boundaries, advocating for yourself. You have to practice self-care. This is something that I've learned in 2020, and it's become very important to me. Now, do I do it all the time? No. But I know how important it is. Setting boundaries. Now, they were talking more about setting boundaries with clients because they will take advantage of you, and that's very true. But also, employers will take advantage of you. And I think a lot of people realize this in COVID time, and they're tired of the bullshit. So I won't be fully exploited anymore. I set boundaries, and I have to stand up for myself because sometimes nobody else will. So, very important lessons learned. I'm now no longer cooking. I'm a purchaser, and I'm actually like loving it to an extent because I'm my own guy. I'm doing my own thing. I work Monday through Friday. I get off before 5. Everything's pretty great, except for they are loading a lot of extra stuff on me, and I have to. I feel like I'm constantly having to be like, I can't do that today. I don't have enough time. They don't really like me because I stick up for myself, and I'm, therefore I'm not a team player. I don't rise to the challenge. We're getting into 2023 here. I stayed at the hospital for a year, which is great. I switched jobs so many times. And I think that I'm like, okay, well, this is good, but I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired of doing all this work. I'm getting tired of putting away freight all by myself and not having any support. And I gotta get out. I gotta get out. I make the decision that I gotta get out. But I also make the decision that it's time for me to get out of food service again. I found my way back in, and but this time I'm gonna go back to school. 2023, I decided I'm gonna go back to school, and this time it's gonna be for graphic design. I'm gonna get an art degree, and I'm gonna get into the graphic design field. So I sign up for classes at the community college, which I'd gone to prior for philosophy. I'm sorry, not philosophy, psychology. I changed my major so many times with this place. I think psychology, there was respiratory therapist, there were a few other programs that I signed up for, and just anywho, but this time I was going to get an art degree, and then I was going to transfer to a 4-year and get my graphic design degree. Mind you, I'm 47 years old, and I know people say it's never too late, and I think they're right to an extent, but also another video for it's never too late, because sometimes for some individuals maybe it is. Now it's 2024. We're in 2024 now. I quit the full-time job at the end of 2023. I started going to classes, and I went back to work at the hospital part-time cooking, which is what I'm doing now. And it's great, actually. Like, it's in a lot of ways it's great because I get the mornings free. I work Monday through Friday, 1 to 5. I got the evenings free, weekends off. I answer to not very many people, and I kind of just go in and do what I need to do and go home and fly under the radar, and it's great. But yeah, so I started doing classes online, and I just was hit with this massive whiplash of deadlines and like papers due, and don't get me wrong, I loved it in a way, and I was making good grades, but it was just too much too fast. And I think I realized that I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And I can learn to do these things. The things that I want to do, I can learn on my own without going to school. So I'm taking these classes, right? And I'm making straight A's. But it doesn't feel right, and I don't have time, and I feel like I'm drowning, and I'm not being nice to myself. I'm not being nice to my wife. I don't have time for my own art. I don't have time for my own music. I don't have time for all these shows and things that I'm booking, that's another thing that I didn't talk about that I'm started doing in 2023 is started up an experimental music collective movement thing, and that's I'm more focused on wanting to do that and not write papers about Civil War heroes and it's very interesting stuff, but I just like, man, I'm 47. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do community college. I think I can figure out my way without it. So I made the really hard decision to drop these classes. I mean, I thought that was going to be it. I thought like going to school is going to be great, and it wasn't. And I think that's kind of gets us to where we're at now. So now I'm just working this part-time job, but I'm pursuing these things that I really am passionate about. But I'm also realizing how much I need to just slow the fuck down and focus on my own development, my own self-care, going back to the fundamentals of things that were very beneficial for me, that brought clarity and insight. So I've been working on that. I've been going on a lot of walks lately. I've been writing. I've been working on these videos. I've been working on music. I've been working on art, and it's great. And I mean, it's hard. It's hard, and a lot of it is frustrating because it's new, and I want to just go back into patterns of going to work full time. But this is just the hallmark of suffering. Suffering in a nutshell is you want something that you don't have, and what you do have isn't enough. So, here we are. I'm gonna make a conscious effort and intention to continue my practices, to work on myself, and to keep documenting this journey. I think it's time. I maybe I'm crying wolf again. Maybe I won't make another video for 3.5 years, but I'm gonna try my damnedest. So, thank you for being here.